Today is Tuesday, September 7th. I hope your Labor Day weekend was everything you wanted it to be, whether you were shopping or relaxing or working or barbecuing, taking advantage of all those Labor Day weekend sales. Labor Day traditionally is known as the end of summer, but I know in a lot of places we're still feeling the heat. My guest this week was unable to make it at the last minute due to an emergency, so I hope all turns out well with that. But guess what? That means I get to have some time to catch up with all of you and kind of talk about what's going on and what's coming up, and maybe I get to address a few of the emails that I've received recently. So this is Let's Chew the Gum, the podcast where we talk about everything from A to Z while we chew the gum. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Let's Chew the Gum. I'm your host, ProTKAll. We talk a lot about a lot of things in this show while we chew the gum, and just like every show, we always have
something for your mind, something for your mind, something for your
무엇인가 정신을 집어넣으세요. 마음에 어떤 것 필요합니까?
something for your
정신에 집어넣으세요.
mind,
정신에 집어넣으세요.
something for your
Thank you for joining me this week. Looking so forward to speaking with all of you. I was really looking forward to my guest, but I will not reveal who the guest was or what the topic was about. You'll just hear that episode once they're able to return again. I hope everything goes well with that emergency. But today, it's a great opportunity for me. I'm looking forward to this show. It's been a while since I haven't had a guest, but that's okay. You all are my guest. As always, feel free to email me like many of you do at letschewthegum@gmail.com. It's always a pleasure to receive your emails and to get your feedback, even the critiques. I love it all. So continue to do so. Again, letschewthegum@gmail.com. So in the absence of my guest, I'll take this time to catch up with you. There's so much always going on in the world. And so I just say that my thoughts and prayers are with folks all around the world that are going through trying and times and turmoil, whether it's in Haiti or New Orleans or New York or Afghanistan, wherever you may be. I hope that this weekly show brings some insight and just a moment of reprieve from, and maybe not even that. Just know that my thoughts are with you. I don't dare to think that my weekly show is a moment of reprieve for anyone going through anything, but I do want you to know that you're in my thoughts. Excuse me. So let me just reflect back a bit. Hopefully you've been able to catch the first episodes of this season, a lot about going back to school with COVID. Those are some pretty important topics, and I'm sure we'll have more of that later on in the year. So that's what's been going on as far as the show so far in the third season. Thank you for that. Thank you quickly to all the listeners that I have around the world. It's just been amazing that it's grown and continues to grow. So that is a beautiful thing. Speaking of which, let's take let me look at a few emails. I'll respond to a few. Here's the most common one. I think I answered this one the most, but I'm happy to answer it anytime. I'm glad that people are asking. And that is, why is this podcast called Let's Chew the Gum? And there's a simple answer: because I like to chew the gum. No, the podcast is called Let's Chew the Gum because years ago, I've always liked to chew gum when I played sports. And I always say it gives me a focus and regulates my breathing. So that was one of the reasons. But I would continue to chew gum when I was doing lectures at whether I was teaching high school or at the universities. And one day I was coming in a little bit later than I normally would at work, and I was still chewing gum from the ride, and I was in class and I was about to give a lecture to a group of master's degree students, and I was chewing gum while I was talking, and I was in just this rhythm, and everything was flowing, and things were going great. And I stopped to apologize because I'd always been, like many of you, told to and taught that you don't chew gum when you talk. And so I was apologizing and looking for a napkin to get rid of the gum in, but the students were so accepting of it. They were like, no, it's okay. It was great. It's fine with us. And it was fine with me. And I thought, you know what? Here's a trend I can buck. And so I'm going to chew the gum. And so it's become synonymous with just talking and conversing. Like some people will say, let's chew the fat. I say, let's chew the gum. And that's what it's about. So there you go. All right. That was Susanna from Illinois. Thank you. I'm going to take one from across the ocean. And this is coming from Ireland. I get quite a few questions from Ireland. This question asks, do you really chew gum during the show? And the answer is absolutely 100% sometimes. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll find myself getting in too much of a rhythm and I'm too relaxed a little bit. No, but yeah, usually I do. I was chewing gum just before I started, but I realized I was really into the gum chewing and it was getting a little bit in the way of my ability to enunciate. So I actually put it down and it's sitting right there, still sweet and sugary. And I am going to pick it up and finish it when I'm done. Thank you for that. All right. How about we stay overseas? Germany. Christopher in Germany. Christian in Germany. Is it easy to do a podcast? Christian, it's not difficult, I would say. It's not difficult for me because, first of all, I love to communicate with people. And that's basically what this is, communicating and talking with other folks, especially when I have a guest on the show, but also talking with all of you. And then the feedback that I get, it's encouraging that folks are listening and want to engage with me. So, no, it's not difficult for me. This podcast also at the moment is only audio. I don't video record them. I've been asked to, and perhaps I'll plan to, especially since I have a new couple of TV channels on Roku and Amazon. There's a little shameless plug there. On Watch TV, ONWATCH TV. On Watch TV, 2 new channels on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. So I may plan to record my podcast for the television stations. In fact, all my listeners especially, if you would like to be on television, send me an email. We'll look at what you have going on and perhaps we can get you on the TV channels as well. So not difficult if you have the equipment you need and you're prepared to talk each week. There's lots to talk about. All right. So that was pretty good. I'll get back to a few more emails in a moment. But I especially, again, just want to thank all of the listeners and email me. Let me know what's going on in your lives. What are some topics that I have not discussed over the last 3 seasons that you might want to hear on the air? And as always, you're welcome to be a guest on the show. Quite a few of my guests became guests because they were listeners and emailed me about topics that they wanted to discuss. So that's always a possibility. Okay. I'm going to take a quick break and I'm going to come back and respond to a few more emails. You're listening to Let's Chew the Gum, the podcast where we talk about everything from A to Z while we chew the gum. I'll be right back. Hey, that was the smooth sounds of Marvin Gaye, what's going on? What's going on? And that's what we're talking about today. Again, as I said, my guest at the last minute was not able to make the show due to an emergency, and our thoughts are with them. So I'm going to continue on. Hey, did you notice there were no sponsors? Well, it's self-sponsored. This show is sponsored by On Watch TV. That's my latest venture. Check it out. On Watch TV on Roku and Amazon. There's a variety of content. There's so much more to be added. We're just getting started with that. There'll be lots of content from around the world, and hopefully something that you will come to enjoy. All right. So there you go for a sponsorship, self-paid sponsor. So back to questions from listeners from around the world. And these next three are from, well, at least two are from the United States. The third one, not sure. So the first one, the next one I should say, is from Devin. Devin is in Boston, and he asked, what are some favorite topics of my own? What are some of my favorite topics? And all the shows that I've done have been topics that have been favorites of mine. I've done shows on COVID. We've had some shows on politics and government government policy. Excuse me. We've done shows on music. I've had shows on substance abuse and people helping with substance abuse. I've done shows on, featuring various authors, artists, including a very great episode with an excellent sculptor, Brian Owens. And that particular podcast was made into a part of the required curriculum at 2 universities in Florida. So that was pretty exciting. I've had other shows on, oh my goodness, my top 10 women of all time. There's been a variety of shows. And that's a great segue into the next question, because it's in a similar vein. This next one comes from Marcus in Atlanta, Georgia. And Marcus says, a part of my tagline is the show where we talk about everything from A to Z. True enough. He says, are there any topics that I won't discuss? And at the moment, I can't foresee. I don't shy away from topics or controversial or political incorrectness. I want to talk about it. I think that having conversations, discussions, dialogue, what have you, they're an integral part to bringing understanding and awareness to individuals. In my experience, it's only been when folks have stopped talking that trouble starts, because you're left to assume, you're left to your own understanding, your own devices. You don't necessarily give a voice or an ear to other points of view. And I think that's when problems arise. So even in my classes, I teach history, U.S. world history, etc., social sciences in general at the high school level. And I'm always telling anyone who will listen, parents, administrators, students, whatever, that in those classes, we talk about things. We talk about all the low down, disgusting, terrible parts of history, things that have happened, and we don't shy away from them because it's history. Sometimes people can become offended, but it's not for people to be offended by. Of course, things are shocking and terrible, but those things are things that have happened. And particularly at the high school level, as students are preparing to go into what we sometimes call the real world, I think it's very important that we prepare them with real information. I can't tell you how many times when I went through college and even at the universities, now that I've taught for several years, when I hear students not be aware of certain things in history that are sometimes common knowledge, or obviously not so common, and they're shocked. Or the other thing is they'll not know the full story. And sometimes they're really perturbed about the fact that, why didn't anyone ever teach me that? Or why was I told all these lies? So as a part of my makeup as a teacher is to really talk about it and give space and voice to the students that I have in my class, so that they can, express their lived experiences and those of their families. And that's really important. And it doesn't go without, incidents. Sometimes people are highly offended, but we try to mitigate that. We try to make it a safe space for everybody to understand that, this is a place where everyone gets to express themselves. And I don't care what their point of view is. I respect it because it's their point of view. And we, put them out there and we discuss them with respect. So I don't know if there are any topics that I won't discuss. I haven't been presented with one that I've shied away from, but give it a try. All you folks listening, give it a try. I know some people may be a little tempted to, try to find the most unspeakable topic for me to talk about, but we'll see. That's a great question. I never say never, but there hasn't been one that I've shied away from yet. How about that? All right. Good question, Marcus from Atlanta. Thank you. Next one. Why do you have a podcast? I don't know how I'm supposed to read that. It wasn't in capitals. So am I supposed to read it as why do you have a podcast, or why do you have a podcast, or why do you have a podcast? So the question remains the same. Why do you have a podcast? And this one is from Anonymous, who lives in Anonymous. So I don't know who this person is or where they're from, but why do I have a podcast? Great question. I think there was some years ago, maybe 2017, I had been really involved in labor movements as a labor leader, I would say. Speaking of Labor Day, I'll talk about that more in a minute, but I had the idea that I was missing my creative side, and I wanted to be more in tune with my creativity. So what did I do first? Did I start that? I think I started the podcast. It was just, I was driving to work, to the university to teach, and I just had a lot of ideas in my mind that I wanted to discuss with students and other people. And I thought, some of these topics are really needed. Discussions are needed. I wanted to invite guests also, because I talk with a lot of great people, and I have, through my travels or, business ventures or professional life. And so I thought, a podcast would be a great way to have expression, to have discussions, to throw out new ideas and new ways of thinking about things. I don't want to sound idealistic, but also to bring people together. I don't think everyone would agree with the things that some of my guests or I may even say on the show, but the point is not to agree. The point, again, is dialogue. So I started the podcast because of that. Just on my own, something I wanted to do. And it's been pretty great. It's been a great outlet and a great resource for people. And so that's why I have the podcast. After that, I ended up doing stand-up comedy also, just being creative. And I think maybe that's what led to the TV channel on Watch TV. Another shameless plug on Watch TV, ONWATCH TV on Roku and Amazon. It was all in that same mindset of me just wanting to be in touch with my creative side. I've always loved to write stories and never thought about being a performer on stage, but the comedy idea, stand-up comedy, just came to me one day and I did it. It was pretty great. And I plan to do it again. Hopefully you can make it to a show. So that's why I have a podcast. Let me bring back the topic of Labor Day. I mentioned I had previously worked as a labor leader. Lots of people don't know what Labor Day is about. And it is a day that honors the labor movement in America, in the United States. So if you are a worker and you get paid a minimum wage or above, you might want to thank labor leaders who made that possible. You have sick days, vacation days, health insurance, safe working places, etc. Rights as a worker. You might want to thank a labor leader or those in the past and those that continue to fight. There's always those that talk down about labor unions. But there was a time when those labor unions didn't exist, and owners sometimes treated workers any old kind of way. Sorry, you break a leg or an arm on the job, there was no benefit for you. You just lost the income. Your family lost the income. You end up destitute and homeless, fired for no reason. Pay was inadequate, long working hours. So this whole idea, even of the weekend, thank the labor movement for that. There were no weekends, right? 5-day work week, 8 hours a day. I know for some that still doesn't exist, but that is a norm in many business arenas. So that's all due to labor leaders and unions that have organized for the rights of workers, for rights, for safe working environments, fair pay, retirement plans, etc. So that's what Labor Day is about. So I don't know, can you celebrate Labor Day if you are anti-union? I don't know. I guess you can do what you want, but not really a good look. It sounds a little hypocritical to me. Can you celebrate Labor Day if you don't work? I suppose. It's more about the labor movement and the advancements that we've had in this country because of the labor movement. Yeah, that's a little bit about Labor Day history. I think I'll take, I'll look at a couple of more emails and share with my responses to them before we end this episode. Again, my guest for this week was interrupted at the last moment with an emergency. So I'm here talking with you. All right. No worries there. This response from, where is this? New Orleans or Nova Scotia? New Orleans. They want to know, how could someone be a guest on the show? It's pretty simple. You can simply email letschewthegum@gmail.com. You can visit the Facebook page and leave a message there. And I will respond. It's as simple as that. We will have a conversation about a topic that you are interested in. And it's pretty simple. And guess what? You're a guest on the show. You don't have to go through a third party or some producer or some screening. I'm the screening process. I'm the producer. So you can do that. It's the same way that you can be on television with On Watch TV. You don't have to go through a third party or some special producer or agency. You just email me. You can email at onwatchtv@gmail.com. Another plug. I'm really excited about On Watch TV. It's been something in the making for quite a while. I've actually had the channel for over a year and just really decided to launch it this week, actually. I haven't even, you guys are getting a special insight because I have not officially launched it, but it's been there. It's been there. Don't tell anyone. It's been there. I've just been working on content behind the scenes with my film crew and other content creators from around the world to really bring some consumable content, positive content that's true stories, uplifting, nothing demeaning of other cultures. And that's the way that I'll have it. So you can email me again to be on the show. letschewthegum@gmail.com. You want to be on TV? You have content you want to put on TV? Email me at onwatchtv@gmail.com. You can email either one and talk about either topic. To me, it doesn't matter. So there you go. Thank you for that question from New Orleans. All right. This is a good question. At the beginning of my show, I said, this is your host, ProTKAll. And someone is asking from Maryland, Baltimore to be exact. Baltimore, Harold. Thank you, Harold, from Baltimore, Maryland. What is the ProTKAll? Why do you call yourself ProTKAll? Well, it's spelled differently. It's spelled ProTKAll. That's a capital P with a capital TK and a capital A, ProTKAll. And that actually stands for Professor TK for all. And it's just the mantra or my mission statement is that I'm a professor and teacher of all. I really pay attention to all of the students in my classes, not just the ones I want to teach. And I know many teachers, unfortunately, do that. They'll have favorites, and I don't really have favorites. I have students that develop relationships. They're more outgoing to develop relationships, and so we may get to know each other more or more on a more expansive level, I suppose. But really, ProTKAll is about being there for everyone, and not just students, but fellow teachers, fellow professors, colleagues, anyone in general. So it's really about being for all the people. And that's where ProTKAll comes from. All right. ProTKAll, ProTKAll. There you go. Thank you for that question. Harold from Maryland. This one is from, where are you from here? I can't say Fiji. No, Philly. There we go, Philly. So this question is from a listener in Philadelphia. I frequently talk about being an educator on several shows, different shows at different times it comes up. They wanted to know what I teach, how long I've been teaching, and do I have a favorite subject. So I at the high school level, I think I mentioned already, I teach social sciences, U.S. history, world history, economics, government, AP Euro history. I've taught that before. My specialties are Southwest Indian history, or just Native American history in general, and U.S. history as a whole, African American history. I mean, history is history, and I'm a big history buff. I've always loved it from the time I was in third grade and would watch videos or movies. I just ate it up. I just existed in that realm. So it's sort of natural for me to do that. So I love that. At the university level, I teach in teacher training programs where I help individuals who are going to become teachers. So there's quite a few programs or classes that they take, and I've taught about 8 of those classes that they take. So that's what I teach. I've been teaching for overall over 20 years overall, here and there. So that's what I do. Yep. Thank you so much from Philadelphia. Well, this has been fun. I have a few more emails that I could go over, but I'll save those for a later show. I thank you all for taking this time with me on this episode. I think it's a special episode. I wasn't prepared to just talk to you. I did have a guest that couldn't make it, but this has turned out pretty well. Pretty fun taking some of the questions. I'll be sure to take more during future shows, and I'll always respond. Many of you, I didn't take your questions or here on the air, but I responded to you personally. So keep the emails coming. It's been great. I look forward to speaking with you or hearing from you also. But I look forward to next week's show. Be sure to tune in every week, generally Tuesday mornings, 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. This is Let's Chew the Gum, the podcast where we talk about anything and everything from A to Z while we chew the gum. And remember, we always have
something for your